Procurement Planning Guideline Part 1 of 3. Why procurement planning? We all know that a plan is only a guess because we have no control over the future. So, why do we make plans? To establish objectives and expectations for how something will turn out in the future. And, while things rarely go precisely as planned, when they do, we are pleased; when they don't, we are not. Procurement planning is no exception. We plan procurement for the upcoming term with the understanding that it is simply a best-case scenario. We strive to plan for uncertainties, but when it doesn't work out, it tells us what went wrong, which we can utilize to enhance our future preparation. The closer we get to following the original plan throughout execution, the better. Why procurement planning? Procurement planning is a crucial aspect of the overall strategic planning process for organizations, particularly in the business and government sectors. It involves the identification of the goods, services, or works that an organization needs to acquire from external sources. Here are some key reasons why procurement planning is important. Cost efficiency, risk management, strategic alignment, supplier relationship management, legal and regulatory compliance, resource optimization, innovation and quality improvement, sustainability, need assessment and requirement determination. The procurement cycle begins with the identification of a need, followed by an assessment of that need to determine whether or not a real necessity exists. The necessity to cross a body of water may necessitate the construction of a bridge, the usage of a ferry, or the use of a boat. The real planning for meeting a requirement is often completed during the annual budgeting period. The accountable entities identify their needs and contribute to the annual budget. During the project conception phase, the beneficiary country develops a proposal for consideration by donor entities under project management. At this stage, requirements are established, and budget plans are made. Budget allocation must be acquired prior to submitting a demand to the procurement body to assure the availability of money to fulfill the request. Before any action to acquire goods and services may be conducted, this must be explicitly informed to the procurement entity. Preliminary procurement planning. It is critical to prepare a preliminary procurement plan and a tentative procurement strategy during requirement determination to avoid any false expectations about the procurement lead time, which determines when the requirement can reasonably be expected to be fulfilled as a result of the applicable procurement method. The real planning for meeting a requirement is often completed during the annual budgeting period. The accountable entities identify their needs and contribute to the annual budget. However, once the demand has been accepted and the money has been assigned, the final procurement plan will be produced and should be followed and adjusted as necessary. At this early stage, preliminary procurement planning can help all parties, particularly the asking body, avoid having unreasonable expectations about when the contract would be granted, and the products or services acquired. When identifying and analyzing the feasibility of the requirements, preliminary procurement planning provides some certainties about the timing for asking and receiving offers, evaluating bids, contract negotiations, awarding, and implementing. Deciding the procurement method. The entity with the need decides when they want the items supplied, services performed, or construction activity done at the requirement identification step. It is critical to communicate with the procuring body at this step in order to find the most acceptable procurement approach relevant to their unique demand. Because of the influence it has on procurement lead time, the procurement method must be defined at this early stage, as well as to guarantee that the responsible body is able to set realistic timetables and expectations throughout the creation and description of their procurement demand. Engaging the support of the procurement entity early on helps to minimize disappointments, false expectations, and frustrations when it becomes difficult to match the expectations of the asking organization owing to inadequate preparation. It is also necessary to decide if a competitive or non-competitive procurement approach is best suited at the requirement definition stage. The procurement process is heavily influenced by the complexity of a need, the procurement category, and the monetary worth. The choice to utilize a certain procurement technique must be based largely on the procurement regulations. 4 things to consider when selecting a procurement method. 1. Estimated monetary value and procurement need complexity. This will determine if the procurement process should be competitive or not. 2. The extent to which the procurement organization can articulate the demand clearly. In some cases, a demand cannot be clearly specified and requires feedback from prospective bidders. This conclusion is also utilized to choose the best procurement technique. 3. The pressing requirement determines the requirement for direct or single-source procurement, which requires approval. 4. Market accessibility. Are there only a few companies or individuals that have the necessary expertise? This would be a compelling reason to use limited or single-source procurement. What to include in procurement plan? The procurement planning process results in the procurement plan. It might be created for a single need, a project, or a set of needs for one or more entities in the public or private sectors. Because of the influence it has on procurement lead time, the procurement method must be defined at this early stage, as well as to guarantee that the responsible body is able to set realistic timetables and expectations throughout the creation and description of their procurement demand. A procurement strategy should be organized into 3 main procurement categories: products, services, and works, as well as several subcategories within them. This plan should include a list of all the needs within each category that are expected to be acquired throughout the procurement term, usually 1 year. As a minimum, a procurement plan should include a reference number, a brief description of the requirement, the estimated value of the requirement, the procurement method, and the expected award dates. Some procurement plans also include the need for review and approval of procurement actions by a tender board or donor entity for donor-funded procurements, the expected bid or proposal submission date, the expected duration of each procurement requirement, and other key milestones of the procurement process from the preparation of the specifications and scope of work, up to the commencement of the contract. Reasons why the procurement plan is important. Number 1. It lists all requirements expected to be procured over a period. Number 2. From it, the procurement schedule is developed, which establishes the timelines for carrying out each step in the procurement process up to contract award and the fulfillment of the requirement. Number 3. It allows for the consolidation of similar requirements under one contract or the division of a requirement into several contract packages for economies of scale. Number 4. From the number of requirements on the procurement plan, the procuring entity can determine beforehand any need for additional staffing, including external assistance for the purpose of completing all procurement requirements listed on the plan. Number 5. It allows for the monitoring of the procuring process to determine how actual performance compares with planned activities, and thus to alert the pertinent departments and adjust the procurement plan accordingly. Number 6. It also enhances the transparency and predictability of the procurement process. Reasons why procurement planning is important. Number 1. It helps to define what to buy, when, and from what sources. Number 2. It allows planners to determine if expectations are realistic, particularly the expectations of the requesting entities, who usually expect their requirements met on short notice and over a shorter period than the application of the corresponding procurement method allows. Number 3. It is an opportunity for all stakeholders involved in the processes to meet in order to discuss specific procurement requirements. These stakeholders could be the requesting entity, end users, procurement department, technical experts, and even vendors to give relevant inputs on specific requirements. Number 4. It permits the creation of a procurement strategy for procuring each requirement that will be included in the procurement plan. Such strategy includes a market survey and determining the applicable procurement method given the requirement and circumstances. Number 5. Planners can estimate the time required to complete the procurement process and award the contract for each requirement. This is valuable information as it serves to confirm if the requirement can be fulfilled within the period expected, or required, by the requesting entity. Number 6. The need for technical expertise to develop technical specifications and/or scope of work for certain requirements can be assessed, especially when in-house technical capacity is not available or is non-existent. Number 7. Planners can assess the feasibility of combining or dividing procurement requirements into different contract packages. I hope you enjoyed this video, and before leaving, if you have not already subscribed this channel, make sure to subscribe, like and hit the bell icon to get updates when I post new videos. Provide your feedback in comments. You can download material from the below links under video.